Right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Deep Dive with Omar Abedin. My name is Omar, and I am head of VC investments at TMT Ventures. Today, I have the honor of speaking with a very special guest, Adrian Li Mow Ching. Welcome to Deep Dive. How are you?
Hi, Omar. I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
Well, I have to tell you, I'm super excited to speak with you. I've been reading up a little bit on what you're working on, and without further ado, let's get into a little bit of who you are first, and then we can talk about what you're working on. So please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you, Omar. Pleasure to be here, and pleasure to spend some time with you. So I'm Adrian. I'm the co-founder of FX Technology. We're a London-based brand. We started 4 years ago, myself and my partner. But before I go into that, a bit of background on myself. So I have a previous education in engineering and a master's in telecoms. I spent sort of 14, 15 years working in the telco sector, also doing top-tier consulting for companies like Accenture. And I got to know the telco world very well, building out infrastructure, working with some of the biggest operators around UK and Europe, from Vodafone to Telefonica to the Hutchinson Group. So that was my kind of career previously. In 2018, I met my now business partner. We both had a huge passion for smartphones and for keyboard-based phones. At the time, BlackBerry were dying a very slow death. And there wasn't any new, interesting, exciting product coming out. We really missed the idea of tacticity on keys and on phones, and also wanted something that was landscape-based, right, where you could really get your fingers across it and really have that extra productive kind of experience. So we set on the crazy task of creating our own smartphone. If anyone ever comes to me today and says, "I want to create a smartphone," I'll tell them, go see a doctor. It's not an easy thing to do. We set out doing that in 2018, and we got the product to market around 2020, and it's this device here, which is the FX Tech Pro 1. So it's a full Android smartphone, full touchscreen experience. It's got a logo, FX Tech, on the back. You can see designed in London. It works as a touchscreen device normally does. When you want the extra inputs, you can flick it open and have access to the full keys.
I love that.
Yeah, so this was our first baby.
You know what? I'm old enough to remember fondly the BlackBerry with the keyboard. That was such a big plus back in the day.
Yes, that's right. So look, this was a huge thing for us. We got it to market in around 18 months. It was all custom made, designed by us. Everything from the angles on the edges to the fact that there are 5 rows of keys. The top row is slightly shorter, so that when you're tapping the screen, you don't end up. When you're trying to tap the top button, you don't end up tapping the screen. So we went into a lot of love in designing this, which is our first device. We then created another variant of this around 2019, 2020. We ended up selling these mostly B2C to over 60 countries globally, actually. The biggest markets were the US, Germany, the UK, and Japan. The Japanese, they absolutely love buttons on everything. So, very big, very popular with Japanese customers. Around 2021, we decided to also move into this space of decentralized wireless and Web3 hardware. So we were approached by a project called Helium, which is a West Coast Silicon Valley project. They're building out decentralized infrastructure for wireless networks. And we were asked if we'd like to become a manufacturing partner within their ecosystem. So going back to my previous background within telecommunications and working for a lot of big telcos who were my clients at the time, I was spending tens of millions of dollars of their money building out, lots of infrastructure, using the big companies like Cisco, Huawei, Nokia, Alcatel-Lucent, 18, 24 months, anything from backhaul to wireless infrastructure. and that's how you build out networks. It's very costly and it's very time consuming. The Helium project was around building smaller devices that people put in their houses, and people in the infrastructure. People in the infrastructure, it creates a huge, almost like a mesh wireless network on a global scale. But how do you manage it? How do you control it? How do you ensure that devices are where they say they are? And this is where blockchain came in. Blockchain was the solution to provide that validation within the network, and almost like create that, in a similar way, that ledger that says, right, if your node is here, it doesn't move anywhere else, right? And it's validated by other nodes around it. And it uses verification to ensure that the node is where it says it is. So really smart concept, and they were looking for hardware partners at the time because they were focused on building the tech, blockchain tech behind the network, and they needed experienced hardware partners to help them build infrastructure. So we went onto that project. We helped deploy 40,000 of our boxes under a different brand called Linksdot out into the market. And as part of our contribution to that project, the overall project managed to deploy almost 1 million IoT gateways globally since it started. So, very exciting, very interesting. Conceptually, I think it proved that you could scale and build networks very quickly. And what I haven't mentioned is that it used the principles of tokenization to incentivize people to actually have one of these boxes and put it in their house. So it was an amazing project. It went very well. The project is now focusing a lot on mobile and on cellular. So they're now building the same type of deployment, but this is going to be a 5G cellular network in the US. And again, they've asked us to be a hardware partner with them. So we've built a 5G gateway. The gateways are being deployed again in houses within North America. And they had a slightly different problem this time. And the challenge was in the way in which 5G and the way that radio works. So the project was using the CBRS frequency bands in the US, which is effectively a band of frequencies that is unlicensed, and anyone can deploy hardware within this frequency band without needing to be an operator or having a special license to do so. And it was something that the US government has opened up. The challenge was, though, a regular smartphone, like this, or whether it's an iPhone or a Galaxy, it can't attach, or it doesn't attach to that frequency band quickly enough. And so what happens is then you could effectively move past that cell, that microcell that's being created, and not know that you're in range. And there's no way to control how quickly a phone can switch to that frequency. They spent 6 months trying to, hack, whether it's Samsung's or Google Pixels. And in the end, they came to us and said, well, you guys are one of our hardware partners. Can you help us create a decentralized wireless smartphone that switches very quickly to that frequency band? So we've been working on a project with them for a year now. And this is a very early prototype of that device. So again, it's kind of an Android Web3 decentralized wireless smartphone that switches to the Web3 CBRS frequencies in under 60 seconds and has the ability to be controlled and do that kind of change. So, we're kind of super excited to launch this in the market at some point later in the year, because it will, this concept of decentralized wireless, decentralized physical infrastructure changes the way in which networks infrastructure is going to be deployed. And we see ourselves as a key partner in the ecosystem to help deploy and scale, whether it's gateways, whether it's smartphones. The actual cell service themselves, the cell service for this project Helium launched about 2 months ago. So they're now growing their base. The great thing about cellular is that it has obvious utility, right? Everyone's got smartphone, cell phone. The requirements on data just keep ramping up and up and up. And so, I see the potential growth of this network to be absolutely huge. So we're very excited to be part of that journey and create, the hardware that goes alongside that. More excitingly, or as excitingly, is that within the world of blockchain and Web3, we're also working with, I won't say the name because it's still confidential, working with one of the layer 1 chains that have a very exciting play within mobile. And they've asked us to install their mobile stack within our smartphone. And what this will mean is effectively we'll have a special dApp store on our phone, a kind of a mobile integration layer, and then in the smartphone where you have the security chip, where all of your credit debit card information is currently securely stored. That's in every single chipset in a smartphone. We're also integrating a crypto hardware wallet as well, and so that integrates into the mobile stack. And all of a sudden, we're looking at a real a true Web3 smartphone that allows you to do true Web3 use cases and that actually has true Web3 technology inside. Today, everyone talks about Web3, but actually they're looking at Web 1.5 or Web 2 use cases, right? We're part of, I think, wider projects that are creating the fundamentals and the foundations for Web3. And again, we're so excited about the possibilities it could bring. For me, one of the great things that I see is actually, and this isn't a new scenario, it's actually a Web 2 use case where in the future, when you're using your smartphone to pay for your Uber or your Careem, you're double tapping the side, and instead of paying with Google Pay, you're paying with your crypto, right? That is a Web3 use case, and actually you're not paying Uber Careem, you could be paying the driver, right? Because it's a peer-to-peer transaction. It's on the face of it, it looks like a Web 2 application, but actually all the clever Web3 is going to be in the background, and nobody has any idea. And this to me is one of the kind of obvious use cases for Web3. Others are gaming. We're excited to be we have concepts for gaming products that have the similar technology inside and devices focused on gaming, because we see the link between gaming and digital assets as a very strong link. So we've to kind of summarize and kind of bring you back on the journey. We've gone from being a single product company to becoming now a multifaceted business with products in different areas, whether it's smartphones, whether it's blockchain, Web3 devices. We have other things that we're working on as well. And we keep scaling. We're very excited, and I love being in this part of this region of the world because there's so much activity here that supports what we're doing within blockchain, Web3, and it allows us to then expand and branch out and to help us really scale on our journey.
Yeah, so you must have heard about the recent funds that are being launched just to support Web3 startups.
Yes, I have. Yes, and we're very excited to have conversations with the right funds. We are looking for the right kind of partner, one that's looking to help us and has the same ambitions that we do in terms of scaling. Right? We're doing a raise at the moment, a Series A round, and we're looking for the right kind of partners, not just in terms of bringing capital, but also in terms of future use cases and partnerships for the Web3 technology. So anything from whether it's gaming to payments to decentralized wireless.
No, it sounds amazing, and I'm just wondering, how far ahead of the curve are you right now? I mean, from what you've described and what you've shared in terms of your capability in terms of devices, as well as in terms of building infrastructure and networks, you seem to have at least 24 to 36 months head start on anyone else, even if they try to replicate your vision, which is hard enough to do. How far ahead are you right now?
Well, I think I'll answer the question by not answering the question. I think we're very fortunate to partner with some of the other big key players within these ecosystems. So within the decentralized wireless space, we partner with the biggest partner out there in the US, and they are easily 48 months ahead of everyone else. Within the blockchain mobile space, again, we're partnering with one of the biggest blockchains out there that have a mobile player that again is 12 to 18 months ahead of everyone else. And so for us, we see these partnerships are always key. It's very difficult to build an ecosystem and a community and the tech and the hardware all together. And actually we realized that our vision is to try and create that device that sits in people's hands that enables that Web3 experience. And so in terms of, how long will it take for someone to catch up with us? At the same time, obviously, kind of people ask, well, what happens if an Apple or a Google decide to come and play in the space? Apple have 1.6 billion smartphones active in the world. Everything they do has to be, has to capture 80-90% of that broad base. And at the moment, the technology, the use cases for Web3 blockchain are still years away from maturity to a point where Apple are going to get very interested in this. So, we see ourselves as having a key role to play for the next couple of years.
Yeah, you answered that question by not answering the question. So I appreciate what you're saying. So the head start is actually doesn't need to be quantified right now because there's no one else playing the game. So if you've managed to do what Apple did in the early 2000s, which is basically create your own ocean to play in, then everyone else that comes to the ocean, to the beach at some point, it's going to be your ocean. So that's absolutely a brilliant way to go, and it's so rare to see true innovation in the space that when we talk about different types of innovation, 98% of the innovation we see in the world today is incremental, right? It's a little bit better of this, or a black version of that, or a matte version of that. I mean, it's literally such tiny increments that people still get excited, and they're still willing to pay their $5 or $10 or $20 to continually upgrade their experience. But what you're doing is radical innovation. I mean, you're the first person in the telco space that I've met. I've worked with a lot of telcos in different capacities. They're mostly invested in maintaining the status quo because they've invested in the networks. They want to milk the hell out of them, right? They want to depreciate them and to the max. There's a reason that 5G is taking so long to really kick off in a big way, right? It's the penetration of 5G in this region is very, very small. But so for them, you're either a threat, a potential strategic partner, or an acquisition target. So how do you see yourself? Like where do you see yourself in 5 years? Are you going to be an IPO'd company? Are you going to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange or the London Stock Exchange? Or are you going to be part of, a company like Etisalat, or as it's called now, E-End, which will throw a few $1 billion your way, and you're like, okay, tap out, time to go, play golf. I'm going to buy my own island, and that's it. Hasta la vista, guys. What's going to happen?
It's a very nice dream. Look, in terms of the next couple of years, I think our focus is to keep building what we're proving, right, and to bring it into the mainstream. The adoption of the kind of technology we work on is still with the hardcore tech community. It's not even within mainstream technology, right? So we still have a long way to go. We've proven the concepts, proven the market need, and now it's about scaling, right? How do we scale these things and help grow them? And in that process of growth, how do we create and adapt to these real world use cases, that we use today for all technology, right? Technology facilitates and simplifies and enhances our lives, day to day through different things, whether it's through some of the payment methods, whether it's through, applications, whether it's through connectivity. All of these are ready to be enhanced, evolved, improved through Web3 and through blockchain. And so we're there for that journey. And I'd like to think that, we create our own speciality, our own niche. I know lots of other kind of good examples of device brands that have their own kind of portion of the market that focus on certain things. And then I'd like to think that in a couple of years, we become an acquisition target for whether it's, probably a large size player who doesn't have an expertise within blockchain Web3 and actually wants access to the technology and to portfolio products very quickly.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. I remember way back when Steve Jobs was launching the first iPad version 1.0, and he had this, little tablet looking thing, and there was, you remember Steve Jobs, and he had this flair for, the press conference and the big event. And somebody from the press called out a question to him. He said, "Steve, what are people supposed to do with this thing?" And, Steve just looked at it and he said, "I have no idea, but I'm sure people are going to figure it out." And I suspect that that's what you're going to find. You're going to find yourself, with the best team in the world. You might start working on 3, 4, 5, 10 use cases, 20 use cases, but people will start using the technology in a way that sometimes will blow your mind. I'm sure of that, because the creativity of the human race, especially when it comes to finding weird and wonderful uses for new tech, is incredible. So I suspect that you'll end up with a laundry list of 200, 300 use cases, and you have to sit there and pick, okay, look, guys, we have to prioritize development on these 10. We can't do all 200 at the same time. So what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think you pull out a really good example of a good example of a product that has just gone from conception to being out there and being as pervasive as smartphones are within people's homes. Steve was an amazing storyteller, and I think he, in the back of his mind, knew what the use cases were, but he gave the better answer in terms of the press conference. I'm a huge admirer of Steve Jobs. I think that the approach that's being taken for Web3 and actually with developers is really what's going to help blow up this industry. So instead of just creating the technology that sits underneath, actually saying, guys, create the applications. Look at the different ways in which we can solve situations within apps. Don't just focus on decentralized finance within the Web3 and blockchain space. Branch out into other things that we can use use the technology for. And it's still very early, right? We're only seeing some of the very early Web3 applications start to kind of come to market. So I'm excited over the next 12, 18 months to see what develops within the community. And also, because Web3 blockchain is very community driven, and there are a lot of very capable and very good developers out there that create new use cases, create new things to do that actually I've never thought of, but they that's what they do, right, as developers. The key thing for us also is bringing them into this ecosystem and giving them the technology. So as an example, one of the blockchain we're working with, on this mobile tech, they can't, or they don't have the means to provide their existing solutions to every single country in the market, right? They only cover sort of the larger ones. And so in our discussions with them, it's not just about integrating the technology into our device. It's also about how do we help bring those devices into a larger part of the market, areas that are currently not served, but actually where we know there is a huge appetite for development, for Web3, for technology. And this will all help, I think, build those use cases. And we work with them together to create the next generation of smartphone, the next generation of device. Because frankly, what we do within one of these isn't limited to a smartphone, right? A tablet, an iPad is effectively a smartphone without all the radio chips and just elongated. So we know this, but it's a slightly longer game for us. We're focusing on, let's get the foundations in place first for this technology, and then we'll start to scale and grow our strategy accordingly.
So if I were to summarize your growth strategy, you've got multiple verticals that you're looking at, right? So you've got the infrastructure space, you've got the whole hardware development space, which is kind of linked to the infrastructure space. You're enabling 5G modalities in places where it possibly wouldn't get done for years. You're also doing a direct to consumer business with the phones. Wow. How big an organization do you have right now? How are you working on all of these different verticals at the same time?
Well, I think what's very unique about our business is that we have a very strong R&D capability, right? Everything we do is around how do we create the devices that are a combination of both the hardware and the software, right? That solve and work across these different verticals. Actually, across all those verticals, our R&D team is the same, right? Okay, there are guys that kind of specialize and focus on radio versus Web3 versus something else, but fundamentally that R&D capability sits across all of those verticals. We are very fortunate. We also have a really strong relationship with a manufacturing partner in China, in Shenzhen, so we can prototype and develop things very quickly. We can get products certified, get them tested, get them approved for market quickly as well. This is our strength. And so, as a business, we're still quite lean. We're under 20 people, but we're able to get products to market very quickly because of this approach. We've probably developed around 7 or 8 different products over the last couple of years, but not all have come to market, right? Some have been concepts, some have been timing's not right, some have been kind of variations of an existing product, but it's still a new product. We're able to move at speed and at pace, and that's one of our USPs, being actually, frankly, quite a lean and nimble device manufacturer compared to a larger machine that's got a 12, 24-month roadmap ahead of them, and you've got to go through kind of all of that process to try and develop something. We're very fortunate because the Web3 blockchain world is moving very quickly. We have to be able to move at that same speed as well.
Amazing. I'm a little bit shocked by your team size, to be honest. I don't know what I was thinking, but it wasn't under 20. So wow. Okay. I have so many questions.
Please ask.
Let's talk about the brand, right? First of all, tell us how you came up with the name. I have a little bit of a hint as to why you came up with that particular name, but talk us through the thought process. Talk us what you believe this brand is going to stand for, what it's going to represent to consumers, and how you plan to get there.
Sure. Okay. Well, we have a multi-brand strategy because we work across different verticals, and a brand for a smartphone wouldn't necessarily make sense for a brand in a blockchain device, right? So the first brand that we created was for this, this baby, and we named her, FX Tech, and the F is actually FX as in maths function. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, so the FX stands for function, and it was about how do we enhance the experience through technology that we create, right? And in a very simple and basic level, allowing a landscape keyboard with a full QWERTY and cursor keys allows a different experience compared to an iPhone.
Oh yes.
Right? There are things that you can do on this phone that you can't do with an iPhone. Like, I've sat on airplanes and created full, spreadsheets in 1 hour, taking an hour to do a full business case on this device, because it's possible. I could not do that on an iPhone, right? So you have a very different experience with this phone, and we wanted to create a brand that represented, that change, and so we called it FX Tech. The brand is very close to our hearts. We love the naming, and we're looking forward to future products that come out within the FX Tech space. For the Web3 space, when we moved into the infrastructure in the Web3 space, the FX Tech brand wasn't the right one for us. So we wanted to create a new brand that, again, represented infrastructure, but represented the creation of infrastructure on a very kind of quick, scalable basis. And so we created Linksdot, which is this brand here. And the idea is you're linking together different points in a network in a very quick and easy, scalable way. And so Linksdot became a kind of Web3 devices brand. Now, when we came to creating a smartphone for Web3, we were umming and ahhing, do we use the smartphone brand or use the Web3 brand? And actually, it was fairly straightforward in the sense that we used the brand that was, that we were known for within the decentralized wireless space. So we were excited about that. We're still deciding when we come up with our Web3 smartphone later in the year which brand that we use. I think it's a good problem to have. We create a new brand.
It's a great problem to have. I think if you have clearly defined brand identities, which tie into sort of if you ever want to create a master brand, I mean, you already have a company brand. So technically the values and the persona, the reasons to believe, the benefits that you're offering people can be really nicely dovetailed in. It's a very, very exciting proposition to be working on. So wow, okay, your marketing guy is going to have his hands full or her hands full for the next little while, because it's a massive ask. Yeah,
yes,
it's a massive
they will. I mean, look, we're also working on other products that I can't say too much about at the moment, but they're also very exciting. They're keyboard related. They'll use the FX Tech brand or something else. And again, it stays true to what we enjoy working on, and our vision of enhancing the experience and adding value to someone as they use a device.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're actually, I think you're boldly going where we have been before. And, I remember transitioning from the tactile keyboard to the touchscreen the first time, and I was, I tried it with BlackBerry. Remember the BlackBerry Storm and all that crap, the 2 or 3 generations of crap that BlackBerry released? Mm-hmm. And the third generation was when I finally quit. I said, I can't take this anymore. And they had discontinued the brick, the blue one with the side wheel that caused people to have tendonitis because of excessive use. But I still miss the keyboard to this day. Anyway, I'm so excited about your product roadmap. I think it's going to be amazing. I'm so looking forward to learning more about it as we go through. What does your ideal investor look like?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question, Omar. We're at the stage where we're looking for, I think, a variety of types of investors. We want to have people who want to join our journey and are as enthusiastic as we are about growth of this space. So, if there are, smaller private or boutique investors out there that are very excited about Web3 and want to come on this journey with us, then we're happy to speak to that scale of investor. And at the same time, we're also looking for institutional investors, but ones that bring value apart from just the capital growth. So we want to find partners who can help us grow in terms of use cases, whether it's finance, whether it's gaming, whether it's wireless. And so we're happy to talk to, I think, venture funds, venture financing, private investors. Obviously, there's a lot of funding within the crypto Web3 space. Most of it is very focused on the blockchain side. But I do believe once we have conversations with people and they understand what we're doing, then actually what we offer is very unique, and is because of its uniqueness, a much different proposition to a software play.
Indeed, the hardware component alone makes it very, very interesting. And then the fact that you are, as we were talking earlier, you're working in cell phones, which is a massive passion area for people in the Middle East, just generally. And then you're working on Web3, which people are absolutely fascinated with, but mostly don't understand. And you're creating this amazing amalgamation, which doesn't exist. And I suspect you're going to see a lot of excitement. I suspect you're going to see a lot of investors reaching out to you to just find out what the hell you're doing. And they will want to take a selfie with your phone to say, hey, look, I got to hold this. There's like 4 of them in the world. I got to hold one, but I'm conscious of time as well. I think I've taken a lot of your time today. What message would you like to give entrepreneurs in the region? What would you like to say to them to encourage them on their journeys?
But I would say my personal learnings from entrepreneurship are there's always a way forwards, right? You know, what you're doing is different. You have a vision. You need to think bold. You need to think big. You need to also adapt. You know, what you come up with on day one won't be the thing that you're working on in year 4 or year 5, right? You have to always be, flexible, be able to kind of move. And it's always, as an entrepreneur, you love finding solutions. And so, have that vision and find the solution, and you'll find a way forwards.
Very, very nice. Adrian, I wish I was actually in the room with you right now so that I could grab a hold of that phone and take a selfie with you and the phone, because that phone the device looks amazing. But more important than the device, I think the device is a function of the work that you've put into it. And so, do you see what I did there? It's a function. Sorry, I couldn't resist. It was a natural. Adrian, thank you so much for your time. It has been a revelation talking to you. I'm wishing you and your team all the very, very best as you move forward with this. And if there is anything that I can do to support in any way, please do let me know. Would love to stay in touch and support in any way.
Thank you for your time as well, Emma. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
Pleasure, Adrian. Have a great day. Bye for now.
You too. Bye-bye.